Welcome guys to another tutorial. In this video we're going to be learning how to make a basic bodice pattern. This pattern will be for fitted dresses, fitted outfits, and it's from the shoulder to the waistline. This pattern will have two darts, and I'm going to be working on the armhole. I'm going to be eliminating any form of looseness around the armhole area. So let's go straight into the video. These are the tools I'll be making use of: my measuring tape, my pencil, my markers, eraser, my core, and my pattern master, and then of course my pattern paper. So let's go straight into the pattern drafting. The measurements I'll be using are my bust circumference measurements, my waist, my shoulder to the nipple, shoulder to the under bust, shoulder to the waist, arm side, side length, and my bust span. So I'm going to start by marking my shoulder to nipple, and then my shoulder to the under bust, and my shoulder to the waist measurement. I'm going to mark more points. Now I want you to note that for every vertical measurement there is a corresponding horizontal measurement. Like from our shoulder to nipple point, on that line I'm going to be marking my bust circumference measurements. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I'm just going to square out all the lines. On my shoulder line at the top here, I'm going to mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2. Then I'll mark more points and connect with a straight line to the bust line. So on this line, I'll be marking my armhole depth line, and to get that, I'll divide my bust circumference by 6 plus 1.5. Now you can actually use 1 inch, you can add 1 inch or even 0.5 if you want the armhole to be really snatched, but 1.5 is fine for this pattern I'm drafting, and that is 8.25. So I'm marking 8.25. So before I mark the armhole depth line, I'll just work on my shoulder slope. My shoulder slope for the front is 1.5, and then I'll pivot my shoulder seam length to touch the shoulder line at the top of the paper. So I'm marking 5 inches, then I'll connect with a straight line to form my shoulder seam line. So it is from this point that I'll be marking my armhole depth line, which is 8.25. I'll divide this my shoulder slope point here to my armhole depth line by 2, and then draw a line towards the center front. On this line I'll be marking my chest span, and you can just remove 0.75 for the front, and that will be fine, or you measure it on your client's body. Then I'll connect to my shoulder slope here. On the armhole depth line, I'll be marking my bust circumference divided by 4, and that will be 40.5 divided by 4, and then I'll add I'll add 0.5 for the front bust measurement because the front bust is actually fuller than the back. So I'm going to add plus 0.5. I'll add 0.5 to my measurement, and it will be taken from the center front. So I'm going to square a line, a short line down towards the waistline. Okay, just take note of what I'm doing. And then on the waistline, I'll be marking my waist circumference measurement divided by 4 plus that intake plus my dart. Whatever your dart is, add it to the waist measurement. And mine is 1.75. So on the waistline, I'll mark 8 inches plus 1.75. And then I'm going to pivot my side length. I'll pivot my side length from the waistline. My side length is 7 inches. I'm going to pivot my side length to touch the line from the armhole. Okay, so I'm going to mark 7 inches from my waistline to touch that line coming from the armhole, and then I'll connect to my waist to form my side length. Okay, I hope we're following. If you have any question, just drop it in the comment section. I'll be there to answer all your questions. So the next thing to do is to connect my chest span to the armhole depth line to form my armhole for the front. That's the armhole curve for the front. And then I'll be working on my waist dart. I'll do that. I'll divide my bust span by 2. My bust span is 8 inches divided by 2, that's 4. So I'll mark 4 from the center front, then connect to form a straight line. And on this line at the waist, I'll be marking half of my waist dart measurement on each sides of the line. So I'm just going to mark 7/8 on each sides of the line, which is half of my dart measurement. So this is my front pattern. I'm just indicating this center front, and this is the side front. So I'll be moving to my side length right now to mark my bust dart. Remember, we're making a fitted pattern, so we need a bust dart to take out all the excesses on the side so that my front and back pattern can match up properly. So I'm just taking the excess, I'm measuring the excess from the armhole depth line to where my side length started from, and I have 2 1/8. I'm going to split 2 1/8 at the top of my bust line and at the bottom of my bust line. Then I'll connect those points back to my bust point, and this is my bust dart right now. So to eliminate the excess on my armhole, I'm going to divide my arm side by 2. My arm side measurement is 18 divided by 2, that's 9 inches. So I'm going to be using my measuring tape to check my armhole to get the exact measurement on it right now. And then I'm going to be comparing it with my arm side measurement divided by 2. So I can see 10.5 on my measuring tape. So that's 10.5. Okay, I have 10.5 Now 10.5 minus 9 is 1.5. So I'm going to be taking out the excess of 1.5 from my armhole. I'll just draw out a line from the armhole anywhere along the armhole to my bust point. And then on this line, I'll be marking half of 1.5 on each side of the line at the top and at the bottom. So I'm marking 0.75 at the top and 0.75 at the bottom. Now this is the excess on my armhole, and then I'll connect back to my bust point to form a dart. And then I'm going to close the dart and redraw my armhole curve, then measure again to ensure that I have 9 inches. What I need is 9 inches. So after redrawing my armhole curve, I'll measure again. So I'm just going to reconnect all the points to get my new armhole line, my new armhole curve. Okay, I hope you're following. Then I'll remeasure. I'm going to remeasure at this point to be sure that I have 9 inches. And I have exactly 9 inches. So I'll just take out that. So I'm going to be working on my neck depth. My basic neck for the front is 3.5. I'll just mark 3.5 and then connect with my curved ruler. So this is my front neck, my front basic neck. And then the next thing will be to cut out. I'll just cut so that I can work on my armhole. I'll just confirm that my side length is equal to 7 inches. And that is what I have 6 at the bottom and 1 inch at the top. So that's 7. So before I cut my bust dart area, I'll just close the dart before cutting. So this is it. I'll cut to my bust point, that's from my bust dart, and then I'll close my armhole dart. Transfer all the excess to my bust dart. Then I'll tape it down and then add paper to my bust dart and close it up. I'm going to use my ruler and pencil to alight my dart legs for the bust dart, and then close it up again and cut off all the excess paper on the bust dart area. Then I can now cut my armhole out, and then I'll also cut out my neckline and my shoulder seam. And this is what my front basic fitted bodice pattern looks like. For the back pattern, I'll start by minusing the difference between the front shoulder to waist and shoulder to waist at the back. So my shoulder to waist at the front is 19 inches, and then my shoulder to waist at the back is 15 inches. So I'm going to minus 19. I'm going to minus 15 from 19, and that is 4 inches. I'm going to take out 4 inches from my measurements, and then I'll be marking 15 inches from shoulder to waist for the back. So my shoulder to waist for the back is 15 inches, not 19 inches. And this is because of the fullness of the bust. So I'm just going to mark my shoulder to bust and then shoulder to waist. I don't need the under bust at the back pattern. I'll do the same thing again and then I'll connect with a straight line. So from the top of my paper, I'll be marking 4 inches downwards. I'm removing 4 inches from the top of my paper. And then I'll connect with a straight line. Now this will be my starting point, my shoulder line. On this line, I'll be marking my shoulder measurement divided by 2, and that's 8 inches. So I'll mark out another point and then connect with my straight ruler to my bust line. And then I've formed my armhole line. On this line, I'll mark my shoulder slope and my armhole curve. So on the waistline, I'll go in by 1 inch. You can do 3/4 if you're not that big. On the shoulder line, I'll come down by 1 inch as my back neck depth. Then I'll connect this point to the point on my waistline, the 1 inch mark on my waistline. So my measurement is going to be starting from this new line. Now I'm doing this to eliminate any form of gaping or zipper bulge on my pattern. So I'll be taking my measurement from this new line. My bust is for 40.5 divided by 4, and then I'll minus 0.5. Like I said, the front bust is taking more because it is fuller than the back bust. So I'm removing 0.5 from my back pattern. I will mark 9.625, 958 on my bust line, starting from the center back. For the back waist, I'm going to mark my waist circumference divided by 4 plus that intake, and that's 32 divided by 4 plus my dart is 1.75, so I'm going to mark 1.75. And then from the bust line where my bust point is, I'll just go a short line from there, and then I'll pivot my side length measurement, which is 7 inches, to touch this line. Now I'm doing this to get my exact side length. So I'll just connect from that point on my bust line to my waistline, and this is my side length for the back. So let's work on my shoulder slope. My shoulder slope for the back is 1 inch. I'll mark that, and then I'll pivot my shoulder seam length to touch the shoulder line up there, and that's 5 inches. Then I'll connect with a straight line to form my shoulder seam length. So I'm going to divide my shoulder slope point here to my bust point by 2. I want to get my back span or across the back for the back pattern. And then, like I said, you can measure it on your client or just go in by quarter of an inch. So there was no need for me to go in by quarter of an inch because of my center back. My center back already took out the quarter of an inch, that center back line over there. To mark my waist dart, I'll divide my bust span by 2. That's 8 divided by 2, that's 4 inches. So I'm taking 4 inches at the waistline and the bust line. Then I'll connect with a straight line. And then I'll be marking my dart divided by 2, which is 1.75 divided by 2, that's 7 over 8. I'll mark 7 over 8 on each sides of the line. And then I'll connect to my bust point to form my back dart. And then I'll draw my back neckline. My back neck depth is 1 inch, remember? So I'll just connect. And this is my back pattern, center back and the side back. So the last thing I'll be doing is to work on my armhole. I'll just measure my armhole curve. Remember, my arm side is 18 inches. So the front is taking 9 and the back is also taking 9. So I have 8 inches on the dot. What that means is that I'm going to remove my shoulder slope. There won't be any shoulder slope for the back. So I'm just going to clean up this my shoulder seam line and then repivot my shoulder seam on the straight line. So there is no shoulder slope for the back. I know you'll be wondering what the pattern will look like eventually. It's going to fit properly, it's going to fit well, it's going to sit properly on your body. So you have nothing to worry about. This is how I tighten my armhole. I don't want any looseness or gaping around the armhole. So I'm just doing all this to eliminate the excess around the armhole so that I can get the best fit for my pattern. So I'm just going to redraw the lines. There is no shoulder slope for the back of this pattern. If you are drafting yours and you get the exact measurement you are looking for, fine, work with it. But for this measurement, there is no shoulder slope. So I have 9 inches. I have 9 inches right now, and that's okay. Then I'll just cut out my pattern. This is my back pattern and this is my front and back pattern. So I recommend that you cut on your fabric, stable fabric, and then do a test fit to ensure that the pattern fits properly.